I don't care. Let me make one thing clear to you. I am not your father. You are not my friend. This is a business.
Hollywood has given us stars who seemed untouchable, larger than life, and destined to shine forever. But when the spotlight turns harsh, even the brightest careers can collapse in a blink.
Wake up and smell the coffee, Mrs. Bueller. It's a fool's paradise. He is just leading you down the primrose path.
I can't believe it.
I've got it right here in front of me.
What happens when actors go from adored to avoided, from fan favorites to outcasts? Do you think fame protects anyone when controversy strikes? Buckle up, because we're about to reveal the shocking stories of actors whose careers ended faster than you can say cut. Kevin Spacey. Few actors carried as much prestige as Kevin Spacey. With 2 Academy Awards, a powerful run on House of Cards, and the reputation of being one of Hollywood's most respected performers, he seemed untouchable. But in 2017, his world shifted dramatically. Allegations began swirling, and though he denied them, the damage to his career was instant. Netflix quickly severed ties, halting one of its most successful shows midstream. Even major studios backed away, recasting him from completed films like All the Money in the World. The speed of his fall was breathtaking. In an industry known for second chances, Spacey's name became radioactive. Court cases dragged on with verdicts that complicated the narrative, but the truth in Hollywood was simpler. His once commanding presence had vanished. A man who once filled theaters couldn't even find distributors willing to touch his projects. Spacey still attempts the occasional comeback, appearing in small European films or stage readings, but the days of him carrying a blockbuster or winning prestigious awards are gone. His case became a cautionary tale about how quickly power can disappear. One moment you're an A-list legend, the next you're a Hollywood ghost. Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer was Hollywood's golden boy. Tall, charming, and praised for his work in Call Me by Your Name, he seemed like the kind of actor studios loved to build franchises around. But in early 2021, everything flipped. Leaked private messages and disturbing stories surfaced, painting a very different picture. Suddenly, the actor who once graced magazine covers was dropped from projects faster than anyone could keep track. Hammer exited big films like Shotgun Wedding and even Broadway plays, leaving producers scrambling for replacements. The real kicker? His career didn't just slow down, it completely collapsed. Reports spread of him working in the Cayman Islands at a timeshare office, a shocking twist for someone once touted as the next leading man of his generation. What made Hammer's fall so dramatic wasn't just the speed, but the surreal nature of it. His name was once associated with wealth, glamour, and award shows. Within months, he was reduced to tabloid headlines and social media debates. Today, Hammer remains mostly in hiding. His Hollywood star burned out almost overnight. It's a sobering reminder of how quickly fortunes can flip in an industry built on image. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was once the highest-paid actor on television, carrying 2.5 Men to enormous success. He was magnetic, hilarious, and seemed impossible to replace. But behind the scenes, his personal battles began spilling out for the world to see. Sheen's erratic interviews, wild quotes, and public clashes with producer Chuck Lorre became headline news in 2011. It reached a boiling point when Warner Bros. Shut down production, fired Sheen, and replaced him with Ashton Kutcher. Fans were stunned, critics called it inevitable, and Sheen leaned into his own meltdown, embracing bizarre catchphrases and media appearances. While it brought temporary attention, it closed doors across Hollywood. Even though he later headlined Anger Management, which ran for 100 episodes, the momentum was never the same. Casting directors grew cautious, insurance companies didn't want the risk, and Sheen's brand became synonymous with chaos. Today, he's more of a pop culture reference than a working actor. His downfall proved something vital. No matter how high your paycheck climbs, studios will walk away if they believe you've become unmanageable. Sheen went from TV royalty to tabloid regular, and his career never recovered. Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr defined a generation of television in the late 1980s and 90s. Her sitcom, Roseanne, was groundbreaking for its raw, working-class humor. For years, she was one of the most powerful women in TV. Then, in 2018, after her show was revived to record ratings, Barr fired off a single social media post that ended it all. The post was widely condemned, and within hours, ABC pulled the plug on her reboot. Imagine that. One of television's biggest comebacks ended in a single day. Fans were left shocked, cast members scrambled, and ABC quickly spun off the series into the Connors without her. Barr apologized repeatedly, insisting her words were misunderstood. But the network wasn't budging. In Hollywood, where image is everything, Barr became the textbook example of how quickly a career can implode in the digital age. Once hailed as a trailblazer, she now finds herself doing podcasts and small appearances, far from the powerhouse she used to be. Her story shows that in today's world, sometimes one mistake is all it takes to erase decades of success. Michael Richards. For years, Michael Richards was adored as Cosmo Kramer, the eccentric neighbor on Seinfeld. His physical comedy and quirky timing made him a fan favorite, the kind of role most actors dream of. But in 2006, Richards walked onto a comedy stage at the Laugh Factory and walked off with a reputation he would never escape. During his set, he lashed out at hecklers with a rant that shocked the audience. The footage went viral, sparking outrage across the country. Days later, Richards appeared via satellite on David Letterman's show, apologizing to both the audience and the public. Yet the damage was irreversible. Unlike others who bounced back from controversy, Richards found no second act. He largely retired from stand-up and hasn't been able to shake the incident from his identity. His Seinfeld fame, once a career-defining gift, became overshadowed by that one night. The lesson? Comedy thrives on risk, but Richards learned the hard way that one bad choice can permanently reshape your legacy. Today, he's remembered less for his iconic role and more for the scandal that ended his run in the spotlight. Mel Gibson. In the 1980s and 90s, Mel Gibson was box office gold. From Mad Max to Braveheart, he built a career as both an action star and a respected director. He even won Oscars, and for a time, Gibson seemed unstoppable. But in the mid-2000s, everything started to crumble. After being stopped by police, recordings of his heated rants went public, and the world heard a different side of the star. The fallout was massive. Hollywood, once his playground, shut its doors. Studios cut ties. His reputation took a nosedive, and even longtime collaborators distanced themselves. Projects dried up almost overnight, a stunning reversal for someone who had been on top of the world. Years later, Gibson tried to stage a comeback, directing the war drama Hacksaw Ridge, which earned Oscar attention. Yet while the film succeeded, Gibson's image never fully recovered. He remains a divisive figure, someone admired for talent, but remembered for controversies that eclipsed his achievements. His career shows just how quickly the town can turn when words become more memorable than the work. Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was once the face of adventure films. From The Mummy to George of the Jungle, his mix of charm and physical comedy made him a household name. But behind the scenes, Fraser's career faced challenges that few fans saw coming. In the late 2000s, he spoke out about being mistreated by a powerful figure in Hollywood. Many believe that act led to him being quietly pushed aside in casting circles. On top of that, Fraser's health took a toll. Years of stunt work left him with multiple surgeries, and his once steady career slowed to a crawl. By the mid-2000s, he had nearly disappeared from the spotlight. Fans wondered what happened, turning him into a kind of internet legend. Memes, fan campaigns, and online movements sprang up, demanding his return. And while Fraser recently found redemption with The Whale, which won him an Academy Award, his long absence is still remembered as one of Hollywood's most unfair career shutdowns. His story proves that scandals aren't always self-inflicted. Sometimes speaking up or falling out of favor with the wrong people is enough to derail everything. Stephen Collins. For more than a decade, Stephen Collins was known as the wholesome father on Seventh Heaven. His role as Reverend Eric Camden made him the symbol of family values, a steady presence on one of TV's most popular shows. That image shattered in 2014 when a private recording surfaced of Collins admitting to troubling behavior in the past. The leak spread instantly, and within days, Collins was removed from upcoming projects. Reruns of Seventh Heaven vanished from syndication, and Hollywood distanced itself completely. While Collins avoided formal charges due to time limits on the alleged acts, the court of public opinion handed down its own sentence. The contrast between his TV persona and the scandal made it all the more shocking. Fans who once saw him as America's dad could no longer separate the character from the man. Collins disappeared from the screen and has lived quietly ever since, his career permanently frozen in that moment. It's a stark reminder of how quickly public trust can vanish once the curtain is pulled back. Mark Salling. Mark Salling rose to fame as Noah "Puck" Puckerman on Glee, one of the biggest TV hits of the 2000s. With his bad boy image and musical performances, he became a fan favorite, especially with younger viewers. But by 2015, that rising star took a sharp turn. Authorities discovered troubling material in his possession, leading to criminal charges and instant backlash. The discovery sent shockwaves through Hollywood. He was dropped from projects, his career frozen, and the once beloved Glee cast faced headlines no one expected. Salling eventually admitted guilt, but he never faced a full sentencing. In 2018, before the case could close, his life ended tragically, leaving fans and former co-stars stunned. What made this scandal particularly haunting was the whiplash. An actor beloved for playing a fun TV character was revealed to be leading a very different life off-screen. His downfall cast a dark shadow over Glee's legacy, and even years later, his name remains tied more to the scandal than the show that made him famous. Paula Deen. Paula Deen wasn't just a chef, she was an empire. With best-selling cookbooks, restaurants, and her own Food Network shows, she built a brand around butter, charm, and Southern comfort. For years, she was untouchable, the kind of personality networks love. But in 2013, her empire collapsed almost overnight when old remarks came back to light during a lawsuit. Deen admitted to using offensive language in the past, and once those words became public, sponsors pulled out in droves. The Food Network cut ties, endorsement deals evaporated, and fans who once adored her were left questioning her brand. Even tearful apologies and attempts to explain couldn't undo the damage. In the years since, Deen has tried to rebuild with online shows and new restaurants. But the massive mainstream spotlight she once enjoyed has never returned. She became an example of how quickly the court of public opinion can transform admiration into rejection. In today's world, one revelation can melt down even the strongest empire. Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder was the ultimate cool girl of the late 80s and 90s. With hits like Beetlejuice, Heathers, and Edward Scissorhands, she was a fixture of pop culture and one of Hollywood's brightest young stars. But in 2001, Ryder made headlines for all the wrong reasons when she was caught taking items from a Beverly Hills store. The case turned into a media circus. Suddenly, Ryder wasn't the indie darling or the romantic lead. She was the subject of late-night jokes and tabloid covers. The trial ended with probation and fines, but the real sentence was the effect on her career. Hollywood moved on, and the scripts stopped arriving. For nearly a decade, Ryder's roles shrank, often reduced to small supporting parts instead of the star vehicles she was used to. It wasn't until her stunning comeback in Stranger Things that she reclaimed her place in the spotlight, yet her long absence is still remembered as one of the most dramatic career pauses in modern Hollywood. Ryder's story shows how one mistake, even a non-violent one, can overshadow years of beloved work. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid once stood tall as a character actor in hits like Independence Day, Kingpin, and National Lampoon's Vacation. Known for his quirky humor, he seemed like one of those dependable supporting players you could always count on. But in the late 2000s, his career went completely off the rails. Quaid and his wife began racking up strange legal troubles, from disputes over hotel bills to trespassing on property they once owned. They eventually fled the United States, claiming that shadowy forces in Hollywood were targeting them. Canadian authorities detained him, and his wild interviews about star plots left many viewers baffled. The end result? Quaid, once a respected actor, became a punchline. Studios stopped calling, projects dried up, and his once steady career came to a standstill. It wasn't just about breaking the law, it was the bizarre behavior, the paranoia, and the sheer unpredictability that made him untouchable in Hollywood. Today, he's remembered more for conspiracy theories than for comedy, a bizarre fall from grace that still leaves fans shaking their heads. Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett was on top of the world in 2015, starring in the hit show Empire. His role as Jamal Lyon made him a household name and a fan favorite. But in 2019, everything changed. Smollett reported being attacked in Chicago, a story that immediately made headlines across the country. As investigators dug deeper, though, the story unraveled. Authorities concluded that Smollett had staged the event. What followed was one of the most jaw-dropping collapses in modern entertainment. Fox cut him from Empire, lawsuits piled up, and his once promising career ended with a single shocking twist. Smollett has maintained his innocence, but Hollywood hasn't been forgiving. He's been out of the spotlight ever since, with few projects and a reputation in ruins. Fans who once cheered for him on Empire now associate his name with controversy and disbelief. His story is a perfect example of how quickly trust and opportunity can evaporate in Hollywood once credibility is gone. Lori Loughlin. For decades, Lori Loughlin was Aunt Becky from Full House, a wholesome TV icon whose career thrived on family-friendly roles. But in 2019, her image cracked wide open during the now infamous college admissions scandal. Alongside her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, Loughlin was accused of paying large sums to get her daughters into a prestigious university. The revelation stunned fans who grew up watching her. She wasn't just a supporting character on a sitcom anymore. She became the face of privilege and cheating in higher education. Hallmark Channel cut ties, Netflix wrote her out of Fuller House, and she faced legal consequences, serving a brief prison sentence. Although Loughlin has tried to stage a small comeback with new projects, the shadow of the scandal still looms. The once beloved Aunt Becky became a symbol of unfairness in a system that already feels stacked. For many fans, her fall from grace remains one of the hardest to reconcile, because her entire career was built on playing the good character. Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson rose to fame as Hyde on That 70s Show, the sarcastic, shades-wearing rebel that fans adored. For years, he parlayed that role into steady work, even appearing on Netflix's The Ranch alongside Ashton Kutcher. But behind the scenes, serious accusations had been brewing. By the late 2010s, those accusations became public, and in 2023, Masterson was convicted in court. Netflix quickly cut him from The Ranch, and other projects disappeared just as fast. His once relatable bad boy image was permanently replaced with courtroom headlines. Unlike some actors who find a path to redemption, Masterson's career is firmly closed. Hollywood has no interest in bringing him back, and his former show, That '70s show now carries an uncomfortable shadow when his name appears in the credits. It's a reminder that even long-term sitcom favorites can lose everything when troubling truths come to light. Bill Cosby. For decades, Bill Cosby was America's dad. His role on The Cosby Show made him a beloved figure, a family-friendly icon whose influence reached across generations. But starting in the 2000s, long-whispered allegations came roaring into the public eye, and the legacy he built crumbled in record time. Comedian Hannibal Buress sparked the storm by calling out Cosby on stage, and soon after, dozens of stories emerged. Court cases followed, leading to his conviction in 2018. Though his sentence was later overturned on a technicality, the damage to his reputation was permanent. Networks pulled The Cosby Show from syndication, and Cosby's name, once tied to wholesome entertainment, became linked to disgrace. The fall was historic. Very few celebrities had ever enjoyed the kind of universal respect Cosby once had, and even fewer have lost it so completely. His career, which had spanned comedy, film, and education, is now remembered for the collapse rather than the climb. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein wasn't just a producer, he was Hollywood's kingmaker. With Miramax and the Weinstein Company, he built careers, won Oscars, and made movies like Pulp Fiction and Shakespeare in Love Global Phenomena. But in 2017, the curtain was pulled back, and the empire collapsed overnight. Journalists from the New York Times and the New Yorker published bombshell investigations that exposed years of misconduct. What followed wasn't just Weinstein's downfall, it was the spark that ignited the hashtag #MeToo movement. Over 80 women came forward with stories, and Weinstein was eventually convicted in court, receiving a long prison sentence. The Hollywood mogul who once commanded standing ovations at the Oscars became a symbol of corruption in the entertainment industry. Studios erased his name from credits, awards bodies distanced themselves, and his once formidable company went bankrupt. Weinstein's career didn't just end, it changed the industry forever. Kanye West. Ye. Kanye West, now officially known as Ye, was once seen as a musical genius and cultural trailblazer. His albums defined eras, his fashion collaborations broke records, and his public persona, while unpredictable, only seemed to add to his allure. But in 2022, his behavior crossed a line that even loyal fans couldn't excuse. It began with a stunt at Paris Fashion Week, where he wore a shirt that shocked audiences. Soon after, his social media exploded with offensive remarks, including anti-Jewish statements that cost him dearly. Within weeks, brands like Adidas, Gap, and Balenciaga dropped him, erasing billions from his net worth and ending his status as a business mogul. For a man who once declared himself the voice of a generation, the fall was staggering. Today, Yes still releases music and makes headlines, but his empire is gone and his reputation is fractured. His story is proof that sometimes the biggest scandals don't just end a career, they detonate an entire empire. R. Kelly. In the 1990s and 2000s, R. Kelly was unstoppable. He sold millions of albums, won Grammys, and created anthems like I Believe I Can Fly that played everywhere from weddings to school graduations. But behind the glossy hits, rumors swirled for decades. Those whispers grew louder until they became impossible to ignore. In 2019, the documentary Surviving R. Kelly gave voice to the allegations, and the world finally turned. Concerts were canceled, his record label dropped him, and fans who once defended him abandoned ship. Court cases followed, and Kelly was convicted on multiple charges, facing a long prison sentence. The contrast between his public image as a hitmaker and the reality behind the scenes was devastating. Once one of the most successful R&B singers in history, Kelly's name is now permanently tied to disgrace. His career didn't just end, it was erased. O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was a superstar long before controversy struck. He was a record-breaking football player, a charismatic actor, and a beloved TV personality. His roles in the Naked Gun series and countless commercials made him a household name. But in 1994, everything changed with the infamous trial that captivated the world. Though Simpson was acquitted in criminal court, the case left his reputation permanently tarnished. Civil suits followed, finding him responsible for wrongful deaths, and his once glowing career never recovered. Later run-ins with the law, including a high-profile case in Las Vegas, only deepened the downfall. Hollywood never called again. Endorsements dried up, acting offers disappeared, and Simpson's name became shorthand for scandal. Once celebrated for his athleticism and charm, he became remembered more for courtroom drama than any touchdown or movie role. His story remains one of the most dramatic falls from grace in American celebrity history. Jeffrey Jones. Jeffrey Jones made his mark as one of Hollywood's best character actors in the 1980s. You probably remember him as Principal Rooney in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or as the uptight dad in Beetlejuice. He had a knack for playing authority figures with a comic twist, and it made him a go-to actor for directors who wanted both humor and presence. But in 2002, his entire career came to a screeching halt. That year, authorities discovered troubling material in his possession, leading to charges that shocked the film community. Jones pleaded no contest, was sentenced to probation, and ordered to register on a public list that forever linked his name to the scandal. Hollywood, quick to distance itself, stopped casting him almost instantly. Though he has taken on a handful of small roles since then, Jones's career never came close to the heights he once enjoyed. His story shows that even actors with decades of work under their belts can lose everything in a single moment. Once a familiar face in comedies and cult classics, Jones is now remembered more for his downfall than his roles. Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle wasn't a movie star, but for over a decade, he was one of the most recognizable faces on television. Known as the Subway Guy, he became famous for claiming he lost weight by eating the chain sandwiches. His commercials ran everywhere, and he became a symbol of transformation and inspiration. But in 2015, his carefully built image collapsed in the most devastating way. Authorities raided his home and uncovered shocking evidence. Fogle was charged, pleaded guilty, and received a lengthy prison sentence. Subway immediately cut ties, but the damage was already done. The company faced years of public relations nightmares, and Fogle's once inspiring story became one of advertising's most infamous cautionary tales. What made his fall even more shocking was the sheer scale of his fame. He wasn't just a spokesperson. He was the face of an international brand. His downfall didn't just end his career, it destroyed his legacy, and left behind one of the darkest chapters in modern pop culture. And there you have it, 22 careers that ended in scandal, some overnight, others in slow motion. These stories prove that fame isn't a shield, and when the truth comes out, even the brightest stars can fade to black. Which of these downfalls shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives, and share this video with anyone who still thinks Hollywood stars are untouchable. Because as you've seen, no career is ever truly safe.